The science behind spaced repetition. Explore how super memos SM2 algorithm leverages cognitive science principles to optimize long-term memory retention. Spaced repetition is not just a trendy learning technique. Серьезно, на второе? Technique. Spaced repetition is not just a trendy learning technique. It's based on decades of cognitive psychology research. Decades. Psychology. It's based on decades of cognitive psychology. Не читается. Psychology research. The core principle is simple: reviewing information at increasing intervals. Как это читать, блядь? Strengthens memory more effectively than cramming. Zoro's super memo mode implements the SM2 algorithm developed by Piotr Wozniak in the 1980s. Implements, допустим, the algorithm works by calculating optimal review intervals based on your performance. When you rate a card as easy, the next review happens after a longer interval. If you rate it hard or again, the interval shortens. The adaptive approach ensures you spend time on words you struggle with, not ones you already know well. The forgetting curve, discovered by Herman Ebbinghaus in 1985, и так тоже можно, shows that we forget information exponentially over time. Without review, we lose about 20% of new information within days. Spaced repetition fights this curve by scheduling reviews just before you're likely to forget. This timing maximizes retention while minimizing study time. Each card in super memo has an easiness factor that adjusts based on your history with the specific word. Words you consistently remember will get longer intervals. Words you struggle with appear more frequently. This personalization means your learning punch is unique to you, adapting to your individual memory patterns. Research shows that spaced repetition can improve retention rates by 200–300% compared to traditional study methods. Medical students, language learners, and professionals worldwide use this technique. The key is consistency. Even 5 minutes daily with super memo produces better results than hour-long cramming sessions once a week. The algorithm also accounts for the spacing effect. Information studied over multiple sessions is remembered better than information studied in one long session. This is why Zoro encourages daily practice racer, then weekend marathons, marathons, marathons. Your brain needs time between exposures to consolidate memories. Interestingly, the act of retrieval itself memory strength, strength, strengthens, 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 strengthens. Where you try to recall a word before flipping the card, you're not just testing yourself, you're actively reinforcing the neural pathways. This is called the testing effect. Effect, and it's why active recall is more powerful than passive review. Super Memo Statistics Dashboard shows your retention rate, review load, and learning velocity. These metrics help you understand if you're adding cards too quickly or if your retention is dropping. Optimal learning happens when you maintain 85-95% retention. Maintain retention. Lower means you're forgetting too much. Higher might mean intervals are too short. Critics sometimes argue that spaced repetition is mechanical and lacks context. Zoro addresses this by combining super memo with contextual learning through lessons. You first encounter words in meaningful texts, then reinforce them through spaced repetition. This dual approach leverages both semantic and procedural memory systems. The beauty of the SM2 algorithm is its simplicity and effectiveness. It doesn't require complex AI or machine learning, just 4 ratings. Again, hard, good, easy. Provide enough data to optimize your learning. This elegant solution has stood the test of time, remaining relevant 40 years after its creation. Окей, допустим это мы опустим. The science behind spaced repetition. Explore how SuperMemo's SM2 algorithm leverages cognitive science principles to optimize long-term memory retention. Spaced repetition is not just a training learning technique. It's based on decades of cognitive psychology. Красавчик, да? Я понял. Я услышал. The core principle is simple. Reviewing information at increasing intervals strengthens memory more effectively than cramming. Zoro's Super Memo mode implements the SM2 algorithm developed by Piotr Wozniacki in the 1980s. Ну-ка схаваем тоже. Так. The algorithm works by calculating optimal review intervals based on your performance. When you rate a card as easy, the next review happens after a long interval. If you rate it hard or again, the interval shortens. This adaptive approach ensures you spend time on words you struggle with, not ones you already know well. The forgetting curve, discovered by Herman Ebbinghaus in 1885, 1085. Я понял, не понял. Shows that we forget information exponentially over time. Without review, we lose about 20%, 50% of new information within days. Spaced repetition fights this curve by scheduling reviews just before you're likely to forget. This timing maximizes retention while minimizing study time. Each card in Super Memo has an easiness factor. This adjusts based on your history with that specific word. Words you consistently remember will get longer intervals. Words you struggle with appear more frequently. Frequency – частота, значит более часто. Frequently. This personalization means you're learning patches unique to you, adapting to your individual memory patterns. Что-то я слова не добавлял, ну ладно. Так, допустим. Each card in Super Memo has an easiness factor that adjusts. А зачем мы перескочили? Давай не будем перескакивать. Давай прям пойдем с самого начала. Spaced repetition is not just a trendy learning technique. It's based on decades of cognitive psychology research. Decades. Ну, типа декада, но я не знаю, что такое декада даже на русском. Декада, что такое декада? Of cognitive psychology research. The core principle is simple. Reviewing information at increasing intervals strengthens memory more effectively than cramming. Zoro's Super Memo mode implements the SM2 algorithm developed by Piotr Wozniak. Да, серьезно? Wozniak. In the 1980s. The algorithm works by calculating optimal review intervals based on your performance. When you rate a card as easy, the next review happens after a longer interval. If you rate it hard or again, the interval shortens. This adaptive approach ensures to make sure something happens or is defined. Ensure something. Ensure somebody something. Ensure something for somebody. ensure. To make sure that something happen or is definite. Ensure. Sure, конечно, ensure, уверен, типа. Наверное, да. You spend time on words you struggle. Struggle это типа struggle, типа борьба. Struggle. With not ones you already know well. The forgetting curve discovered by Herman Ebbinghaus. In 1885 shows that we forget information exponentially over time. With our review we lose about 50% of new information. 50 of new information within days. Within в течение, within. Spaced repetition. Spaced. Такое слово spaced. Пространство типа spaced. Пробельное. Repetition. Fights. Борется. Fights. Не бьет, а борется. Fight. This curve by scheduling. Schedule. Типа расписание. Повторение. Планируя. Scheduling. Лучше взять. Reviews just before you're likely to forget. This timing maximizes retention while minimizing study time. Retention. This timing максимизирует запоминание. Retention как возвращение. Retention в маркетинге. Each card in super это super memo has an illness factor that adjusts based on your history with a specific word. Words you consistently remember will get longer intervals. Remember, запомнить. Consistently. Последовательно. Consistently. Ладно, я понял. Words you struggle. Борьба же, да? Трудности, борьба, трудности, struggle. Я встретил некоторый struggle on my way. With appear more frequently. Более часто. Чаще. Frequency, частота. This personalization means означает your learning path, не patch, ни хера не patch, вообще ни хера не patch, path. Чем path отличается от way? Anybody know? Is unique to you, adapting to your individual memory patterns. Research shows that spaced repetition can improve retention rates by 20-30%. Percent или percent? Percent sign. 20-30% compared to traditional study methods. Study, прикольное слово. Study. compared, emulate, improved, compared, традиционные по сравнению, compared, сравнение типа, compared, to traditional study methods, medical students, language learners, and professionals worldwide use this technique, запомнил, видел? The key is consistency, последовательность, ну-ка. Yeah, boy. Even 5 minutes спустя, даже even 5 minutes daily with super memo produce, дают, продюсируют, produce, проводят, типа того, ну, такое надо в контексте запоминать. Better results than how long cramming, зубрежка, cramming, sessions once a week. The algorithm also почему он говорит тут такой фонетический знак also это also accounts for spacing effect for spacing effect, information studied, выученное же, да? Алгоритм также учитывает information, изученное, да, over multiple sessions is remembered better than information studied in one long session. This is why Zoro encourages, поощряет, как это запомнить? Courage. По-любому есть слово courage, а это encourage. Daily practice, razor, daily practice, razor типа больше, чем или как это? Razor using time fairly or to some degree. Often when you are disappointed, surprised, or expressing slight criticism, a rather large sum of money, a rather small. They took a rather different approach. Не понял я ни хера. It was a rather difficult razor. Что если так? Что такое? Дипл не хочет работать на этом сайте или что? Или он не включен? Hey, boy, what are you doing here? You little motherfucker. We need to let's get out of here. Razor. Или тут свои клавиши. Razor. Почему? Потому что могут себе позволить. Скорее. Razor. Скорее. Но это слово не важно, мы его учить не будем. Then weekend marathons. Как это? Marathons. Ёптать. Marathons. Your brain needs time between exposures. Воздействие. Экспозиция. Что-то каких фотографий. Exposures. Needs time between exposures. To consolidate memories. Interestingly, the act of retrieval itself strengthens memory. When you try to recall a word, recall, типа вспомнить, recall, вспомнить, все там такое слово было, recall, a word before flipping the card, flipping, flip, flop, floppy, you're not just testing yourself, you're actively reinforcement learning. Actively reinforcing, укрепляете, reinforcing the neural pathways. This is called the testing effect, and it's why active recall is more powerful than passive review. Super Memo Statistics dashboard shows your retention rate. Это устойчивое выражение, как в маркетинге, retention rate, review load and learning velocity. Что такое? Learning velocity, скорость, velocity, как велосипед, velocity. This, как вот это? Ну-ка. These metrics, как будто ты заводишь это, блядь, бензопилу или газонокосилку. These metrics helps you understand if you're adding cards too quickly or if your retention is dropping. Optimal learning happens when you maintain, это прикольное слово, мне нравится, maintain. Optimal learning happens when you maintain, поддерживать, поддержка, maintain, не support, но maintain. Retention 85-95% или percent reasonable retention. Lower means you're forgetting too much. Higher might mean может означать. Higher might, надо запомнить. Might, ничего себе накидал уже. Накидал, будь здоров. С одного текста их 5. Critics sometimes argue. Утверждают, argue. Утверждают. Spaced repetition is mechanical and lacks context. Lacks. Zoro addresses this by combining super memo with contextual learning through lessons through когда-нибудь this и through в одном предложении меня встретятся и больше меня никто не увидит. Through lessons, your first encounter, your first encounter. Встречаете, но такое, не додумался. Encounter words in meaningful text. Meaningful значительное типа. Осмысленный. Meaningful. Ёптать. Text then reinforce them through или through или что, блядь? Through spaced repetition. This dual двойной, dual, логично. Leverage, approach, leverage both, semantic and procedural, semantic, memory systems. The beauty of the SM2 algorithm is its simplicity. Простота, но в принципе как бы да, а как бы и нет. And effectiveness. Опа. Неплохо. Я уже забыл сам. Ачивки. Ачивки мне нравятся. Еще бы. It doesn't require, не требует. It doesn't require. Но слово знакомое, но лучше еще раз. It doesn't require complex AI or machine learning. Just 4 ratings. Again, hard, good, easy. Provide enough data to optimize your learning. This elegant solution has stood the test of time, remaining relevant 40 years after its creation. Remaining. Это в Unreal турнаменте такое было. Что-то там в конце раунда. Remaining. Осталось. Remaining relevant. Remaining актуальным. Actual. Relevant, actual. 40 years after its creation. Так, надо сделать больше перерыв. A little pause. Так, сколько? Ну-ка, тут может показаться будет. Да, красавчик. Я красавчик, я знаю. Vocabulary. Lesson. Lesson 1. Lesson 2. Remaining. Require. Effectiveness. Simplicity. Procedural. Leverage. Meaningful. Encounter. Lex. Argue. Might. Maintain. Reinforcing. Flipping. Exposures. Marathons. Razor. Encourages. encourages, produces, produces, even, compared, path, struggle, consistently, retention, scheduling, within, ensures, approach, decades, adjusts, 1980s, cramming, зубрежка, psychology, technique, stood, addresses, velocity. This elegant solution has stood the less of time, remaining relevant 4 years after its creation. This elegant solution has stood. Has stood. This elegant solution has stood. Выдержал испытание временем. Has stood. Выдержал. Как студент, типа. Student. Это stood. Окей, бой. Так, а тут у меня что? I am abandoned, заброшенный. Able, не знаю, above, не знаю, abroad, раз не вспомнил, значит не вспомнил. Absolute, absorb, типа впитывающий, абсорбирующий. Abuse, accept, принять, access, доступ. Accident, несчастный случай. According to. Ну, либо у меня в голове всегда всплывает что-то в соответствии с, но, по-моему, это не так. Потому что каждый раз, когда я смотрю на according to, как это, что это значит, то это не то. Accurate, но аккуратный же, accurate, логично. Accuse, achieve your goals. Achievement, только что были у меня. Acid, кислота. Knowledge, знание, а knowledge, не знание. Acquire, across. Act, действовать. Act, action, действие. Active, активный. Activist, activity. Actual, но про ударение не знаю точно. Actress, actually. Не, вот насчет наречия, даже наречие, правильно, да? Actual, add. Надо пофиксить будет эту штуку. Adapt. Ну, типа адаптироваться. Adapt. Add, добавить. Add up. Не знаю. Addiction, я знаю, зависимость. Addition, add, сложение. Чё у меня наушник разрядился, зачем так делать? Additional, ну звучит как добавление, но, наверное, это не факт, что. Address, adequate, adjust, administration, admiration, admire, admit, adopt, adult content для взрослых. Так, что мы еще можем сделать? Super memo, lex, legs, legs, не помню, legs. Critics sometimes argue that spaced repetition is mechanical and lacks context. Лишено, лишено, lacks, как Wikileaks, lacks, 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 это будет сложно. Up, ну типа вверх, up, up and down, up and down, up, это было easy, up, up, how to set up, open the app, how to set up, а тут другой контекст, set up, установить, настроить, set up, up, наверное, надо будет в словаре еще посмотреть, approach, this adaptive approach, подход, approach, подход, это было тяжело, approach, according to, вот что значит, не знаю, судя по новостям, according to, судя по всему, вы долбоеб, according to, не ты конкретно, а это так, для запоминания, according to, судя, according to, это было тяжело, account, это аккаунт, счет, I opened a new bank account, счет, аккаунт, счет, аккаунт, ну пусть будет good, admire, I really admire your courage, я действительно восхищаюсь твоим мужеством, admire, восхищаюсь, admire, again, require, требует, require, это было, good, this is good, above, the bird flew above the trees, между, above the trees, above your legs, decades, it's based on decades of cognitive psychology research, it's based on decades, десятилетия, it's decades, десятилетия, decades, heart, decades, argue, утверждают, argue, было легко, окей. Accidental. This adaptive approach, не знаю. This adaptive approach, remaining, approach, что-то слово. You spend time, require, не. Meaningful, значительный, meaningful. Hi, welcome to Smart Home Talk. Approach, что промазал? It's based on cognitive psychology research. It's based on decades. Хоп, и дальше. requires. Угадал? А? Пошла жара. How to I want simple bulb. Не знаю. Угадал. Company. A company. Marathon. I will produce a company, типа составить компанию. Technique, about. Without review, we lose about 50% of new information within days. Не знаю, что значит, но запомнил. Reason. I have great admiration. Не знаю. Угадал. Remaining. Each currency formula has an business factor that has an business factor that based that state adjusts that absolutely based maintain retention absolutely. Yeah. Admiration. Sayıklar это легко. Encourages. Meaningful. I saw an approach. I saw an abundant. Adopt. Это же голосовое. Good. This is why Zoro encourages daily practice rather than weekend marathons. And just take easy weekly marathons, decades. Cramming заброшка. Maintain. Поддержка. Так, ну-ка тормознем. Listen addresses. Lex это. By. Lex это только что же было. Scheduling. A. They decided to travel abroad. Accent. Legs. Above. Лишена. Legs лишены. Above. Тогда тихо. Absent. Стоять, тихо. Спокойно. Adjust. Блять, промазал. Above. Между. Velocity. Скорость. Able. I want to be able, не знаю что. They stole him off. Так, успокоились. Able. This is why Zoro approach, блять. Compared. We walked across the old bridge, типа across, вокруг. I saw a small cat. Procedural. Так, что происходит? Admiration. They requested так, тихо. reinforcing academic simplicity, consistently welcome, flippant, can, above, между, вокруг, ability, обилка типа способность. It doesn't так, что такое? Your first encounter words in procedural meaningful texts. Meaningful. He managed to within scheduling tag weekend marathons. Так, вот что зафигачим. Velocity. Within. Neither native. About. Across. Absolutely. Require. Approach. Stood. Encounter. Stood. Так. Velocity. Промазал. Account. Abroad. Надо посложнее делать, невозможно проиграть кого-то. Psychology. Так. This elegant solution has stood the test of time, remaining, cramming, adjusts. Так, спокойно. In the 1980s. Marathons. Your brain needs time between the спокойно. Can. Listen and choose the matching card. Lax. Лишены. Remaining. Acknowledge. Flipping. Переворачивать. This dual approach. Так. Блин. Так, все, я задолбался уже. Argue. Так. They had to abandon, покинуть, типа. They had to abandon. Require. Within. By. Legs. Stood, что-то про how to produce, не, addresses. We talk about our future plans. Sure, спокойно. Так, he, sure, abandon. Even within decades. Проиграл. Ну, как проиграл. Набрал больше, чем за всю свою жизнь. Spaced repetition is not just a trendy logging technique. technique. Spaced repetition is not just a trendy learning technique, it's based on decades of cognitive psychology research. The core principle is simple: reviewing information is increasing intervals strengthens memory more effectively than cramming. Zoro's supreme mode implements a simple algorithm developed by Peter Wozniak in the 1980s. The algorithm works by calculating optimal review intervals based on your performance. When you rate a card as easy, the next review happens after a longer interval. If you rate it hard or again, the interval shortens. This adaptive approach ensures you spend time on words you struggle with, not ones you already know well. The Forgetting Curve, discovered by Herman Ebbinghaus in 1885, shows that we forget information exponentially over time. Without review, we lose about 50% of new information within days. Spaced repetition fights this curve by scheduling reviews just before you're likely to forget. This timing maximizes retention while minimizing Так, спать хочу. Не хочу спать. Но пора заканчивать все равно. Час прошел. Можно послушать еще так, чисто для этого, для общего развития. Не поспоришь.